to Back Issues. I am Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
The comic book discussion series where I explain comics to two guys who probably don't know what the original sin was.
I don't know. You didn't either until you read this book, though.
I don't even know what it is now, and I read the book.
Oh, no!
I know biblically.
I mean, like, No, I don't know what the original sin was.
Alright, before we start this episode.
It's a week after original sin number 8 wrapped up the whole story. We're not doing tie-ins, we're not doing any extra stuff. Just
Nope.
original sin 1 through 8, total spoilage. We're ruining the whole series. So if you don't want it spoiled for yourself, wait until you finish the whole series and then check us out.
Yeah.
Chances are, though, if you've been reading 1 through 8 consistently, you've already read this, you know what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we thought we'd give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll,
So yes, spoilers ahead!
spoilers galore.
See if you say
Spoilers ahoy!
Spoilers.
There.
you. We've
Now
all
we've
said
all
it.
said spoilers. Anyway, original sin number 1 through 8 by Jason Aaron and Mike Deodato Jr. We reviewed the first issue of Original Sin in an episode of Off the Rack, which you can find right there.
right.
We kind of dug it. We kind of
Yeah.
liked the art. We really liked the idea. You guys didn't really think you were going to read the rest of it, but I sure did. And
I remember you started to lose faith partway through. You're like, I don't know if I might just get the trade.
yeah.
But they were just if the next issue works,
Yep.
then I'd
That's
probably
right.
read it.
That's what you
And it did. Like, it was cool. And it's a neat story, but overall, no, it was cool. I mean, I'll stand by that. It was cool.
Like, I'll just say
Okay.
if they're not wearing actual masks in space, they're gonna...
Oh, yeah, no, all those issues you had before are still present. Because nobody cares, except for you.
I mean, I see places where people are wearing space helmets.
Yeah.
So, like, there's
well,
clearly...
well, the whole climax takes place in space.
yeah.
Okay.
Here, Nick Fury's wearing a space helmet.
Yeah,
So they are
It
drawing a
wasn't
distinction between... But there was an atmosphere before.
before. Anyway.
So, alright, Jason Aaron, this is one of the first, like, major Marvel events that Jason Aaron has written. He wrote a really fun story called The Astonishing Spider-Man and Wolverine. It was like a mini-series that kind of, sort of took place in continuity.
Okay.
That featured a villain called the Orb, who was just basically a buff-looking dude with an eyeball for a head.
Right.
See, you don't call yourself the Orb if you have a giant eyeball for a head. You call yourself the Seer or Eyeball. Mysterio is an Orb.
Right.
Like,
Mysterio could
he's
go
the
by
Orb.
the Orb. Yeah.
That's it.
Well, except that nobody gives a shit about the Orb, except for Jason Aaron. But Jason Aaron keeps trying to make the Orb happen.
Well, the orb already existed, right?
Yes,
So
the
it seems
orb-
like he picked the orb because he is a giant eyeball on his head, and he took one of the Watcher's eyes. So like, there's like
Yeah, there's a connection there. So
that's probably literally the reason.
Oh, yeah. Well, he also seems to have a hard-on for the Orb, because he put him in his other story.
Oh, really?
Like, oh yeah, in Astonishing Spider-Man Wolverine, the Orb is the villain in that story.
Oh.
And he's
Well,
just
maybe
as
that's how he came
ineffectual
up-
and dumb.
Maybe that's how he came up with the idea.
Oh, like, I use the
What
Orb?
if I use the orb to take someone's eyes? What if he takes the Watcher's eyes?
Oh.
My God! Imagine what he'd get if he took the Watcher's
Yeah,
eyes.
he
He'd get
gets-
to see everything.
Nothing. Like, he's stupid.
He loses.
Well,
gets
he sets up the Orb to have, like, a new status quo, but he didn't have a status quo to be fucking begin with, so it doesn't matter. The Watcher was assassinated and his eyeballs gouged out, and, the Avengers respond, they check it out. Their meet night was interrupted to investigate the Watcher's murder. The idea was that Fury, Widow, Wolverine, and Captain America, all old people who are seemingly young.
Okay.
I think Widow and Nick Fury are actually the two people who take a thing called the Infinity Formula,
Okay.
which allows them to maintain their youth despite having been, like, decades old. And Captain America and Wolverine obviously have their own reasons for their being young. But the idea was that these characters meet every so often and have steak. That's their story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we talked about this in the first issue. Now, Meat Night gets interrupted because there's something that happens on the moon. They find out the Watcher was murdered, his eyes gouged out. Captain America is like...
And he was shot in the head.
And he was assassinated in the head. Captain America is like, Nick, I'm going to need you on this one, which tells you right away that Nick Fury is probably going to die. And the reason I say that is because in Marvel's Cinematic Universe, Nick Fury is a black guy who looks like Samuel L. Jackson, and he's super badass and cool. In the Ultimate Universe, that's where the idea actually came from. In Ultimate Marvel, Bendis created Ultimate Nick Fury, who was Samuel L. Jackson. In the Marvel 616, or the Marvel Universe proper, where this takes place, Nick Fury is an old white guy.
Right.
And not to be outdone by Marvel Cinematic, Marvel's like, we need to get our own Samuel L. Jackson Nick Fury. How are we going to do that? Maybe we could, I don't know, take Nick Fury from the Ultimate Universe and put him into the 616 universe. No, that's way too complicated. Let's make it so that Nick Fury had an interracial relationship about 30 years ago, and he never found out about the illegitimate son he had, who is black and looks like Samuel L. Jackson. And this character was named after his father, so his name is Nick Fury too. And he loses an eye, the same eye that his father loses. And he joined S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's slowly rising through the ranks, so he'll eventually become director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So that's way less complicated than just making Nick Fury black and saying that that's just different now.
If we were in a meeting where you proposed that for
right.
a comic, I would slap you across the face.
I mean, like, no, it's gotta make sense, man. You can't just say we just put another character in there. We gotta make it make sense. We gotta put it in the continuity.
That is the worst bullshit I've ever heard.
So, you know the writing's on the wall that they're trying to shuffle loose the mortal coil of Nick Fury.
Right.
Proper.
Get rid of him.
So, you already know Nick Fury is tied heavily in with this event, because Nick Fury has been involved in a few peripheral Marvel events, but not to the degree that this story is about him.
There's a lot going on here, because there's a mystery as to who killed the Watcher.
Yes.
There's also a mystery as to what the original sin is.
Right.
And there's various secrets that are coming out as a result of the Watcher's eyes being taken.
Right. Now, let's talk about the eyes being taken. Now, the eye was taken by a character called the Orb, who I spoke about. One of them. Which eye? I think it was his left eye.
Okay. All right.
So the Orb stole the Watcher's left eye. Under the support and help of a character called Dr. Midas, who's a really crappy Iron Man villain who you can guess, touches people and turns them to gold.
Oh, that's not the Thing that's all glowy?
He looks like the Thing and he's all glowy. That's Cosmic Midas. Dr. Midas is kind of like a crime lord in the 616 universe. He's like a... He's obsessed with wealth and acquiring power.
Okay.
And he has a daughter who was created in perfect, ideal circumstances. So her brain was allowed to develop super fast or some nonsense. So she's really, like, smart and capable. And her moniker is the Exterminatrix. Oubliette is her first name.
The Exterminatrix.
The Exterminatrix. She's involved in the story too. All these classic, amazing Marvel villains are brought out to the forefront.
Right.
You got the Orb, Dr. Midas, Exterminatrix. It's so great. So anyway, they get control of the left eye of the Watcher. So the Avengers come a knocking on Dr. Midas and Oubliette and the Orb's door, because as a consequence of being near or in the presence of the Watcher's left eyeball, secrets and abilities start to come out of you.
Okay.
Abilities?
Well, it depends on who it's near and in what capacity the eye is being used. For example, there are these characters called the Mindless Ones, which are interdimensional beings that Doctor Strange and the Fantastic Four usually deal with. So one of the Mindless Ones gets out, and it kills itself using the Ultimate Nullifier.
Oh.
The Ultimate Nullifier is some heavy shit. The Ultimate Nullifier is just one of, like, the 6 devices in the universe that can fuck up everything. It's actually, it used to be held in Galactus' ship, and it's the thing that the Watcher told Reed Richards to use to get Galactus to not eat Earth.
Okay.
They steal it from the Galactus' ship, and then they tell Galactus, I've got the Ultimate Nullifier, and if you don't get out of here, I'm gonna Ultimate Nullify everything. And Galactus is like, oh! And he leaves. And then, ultimately, the Watcher gets the Ultimate Nullifier. The Watcher has, like, a huge arsenal of weapons you shouldn't be using and technology that shouldn't fall into the wrong hands.
Okay.
Because nobody can really get to the Watcher unless he wants you to get to him.
How did he get killed then?
Well, that's the question. It looks like the Watcher kind of, like, made things happen that way. The Orb is obsessed with the Watcher because he starts having dreams and visions of the Watcher in his base. And it's actually through those visions that he decides to go to Dr. Midas, and he's like, you have the means and the technology to get me to the moon so I can get you, like, crazy weapons and shit that you need in order to acquire more power. And Dr. Midas is like, okay, I'll take that.
So Orb's only motivation is he wants to talk to the Watcher.
Yeah, well, he wants to know why. Exactly.
Now, this is the one thing. This is the one
What's
issue I
self-healing
had with a
material?
lot of this was I saw the eyeball eyeballs floating around in space, and I was like, that's not possible. That would be a problem. But then I really thought about it, and like, the Watcher's just out in space.
Yeah,
He'd probably be fine.
He's not made of like normal tissue.
No, the
It's
Watcher
also-
is a cosmic entity, more or less. I mean, he's a member of a race of beings that can be killed, obviously, but I mean, he's made of different stuff.
It's also probably like they haven't deteriorated this entire time.
That's
Like,
true, and in fact,
turned to meshy goop.
it's important that you note that because the Watcher hasn't deteriorated throughout his assassination.
Oh, his body is still
Fresh and preserved.
It's weird that even though he's not normal flesh and blood like you and me,
He
still
has the nerve endings.
nerve endings dangling from his
Yeah.
eyes.
Well, I mean, how are we going to portray alien anatomy eyeballs?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Plus,
Let's just use human eyeballs.
He looks like just a big baby. I mean,
yeah, he
he's still
does. He's got a
humanoid.
big head.
The Avengers launch a
does
siege.
I'm sorry, I was going to ask this and I forgot. How does the eyeball character talk? He doesn't have a mouth.
They actually, Dr. Midas asks him that, and he says, like, it was a lot of work, and originally it was just mostly squishy sounds. Now, he may have been sarcastic, but that being said, there is an answer for that.
That's really funny.
I want you to say that one more time.
I'm interested.
The orb can
How does
talk.
the orb talk?
It took a lot of practice. When it first started, it was mostly just squishy sounds.
That's not an answer.
I think
not
he was
anything.
being glib.
He was. Yeah.
So
That's
He's like-
really funny.
He's like, "Fuck you." That's how it works.
yeah, how does it work?
Yeah.
Because Jason Aaron wants to use me in my dumb
That
story.
was both the orb and the author talking.
Yep. He is addressing you specifically.
Yep.
Jason Aaron has seen back issues since the Avengers launch an attack, an all-out assault on
Midas?
the Exterminatrix,
Yeah.
Midas, and the Orb. It's everybody. Like
Oh,
the
man.
Hulk and Spider-Man,
They're
Luke
super
Cage.
pissed about the Watcher.
Yeah, no, they're really pissed about the Watcher. And by the way, another thing that they retconned in is that not a lot of people know about the Watcher's existence. That, like, only prominent people have seen the Watcher when he appears. That, like, only a select few even are aware of his existence. And in fact, like, the Orb doesn't even know who he is. He's just having visions of the Watcher, so when he goes to Midas and he's like, I'm having these visions of this guy on the moon, do you know what I'm talking about? Midas is like, yeah, it's called the Watcher, and if you know that, then you must also know that there's a lot of cool shit in his house. And so, alright, I'll take the gamble.
Okay. Who's this?
That's Dr. Midas in an Iron Man suit.
Ah.
So,
It's actually an Iron Man suit, though, right?
it looks like an Iron Man suit.
Because it really looks like an Iron Man
Well,
suit.
he's an Iron Man villain, he probably stole one. So anyway, it looks like all of the Avengers ever are going to beat these two Z-list villains, or these three Z-list villains, and then the Orb figures out how to unlock the Watcher's eyeball and treats it like a bomb, an information bomb. And it blasts out at everybody in the area, and it makes secrets revealed to them.
Okay.
So this information bomb, does it have a destructive effect on people?
A mentally destructive effect in that they find out terrible things they don't want to know.
Right, but does it incapacitate them so that the orb can get away? Because if not,
No,
what the fuck?
It distracts them. Like, Thor finds out he has a sister, so he leaves. And, like, Spider-Man finds out there's another person who got bit by the radioactive spider that gave him his powers, and that she's locked someplace in a subterranean lair, so he leaves. So, like, enough things are happening that distracts enough of those characters, and enough of the other characters who are watching that happen, who maybe had, like, less important secrets, were like, whoa, everyone's freaking out. And while I'm looking at Hulk pummel Iron Man, it's enough for 3 crappy characters I don't even know their names of slipping out.
Right.
So it's really just
But
a
not the
problem bomb.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more of a complication bomb.
Or a convenience bomb.
Yeah, a drama bomb.
It's not a knowledge bomb at all.
No,
It's a half knowledge bomb.
Yeah.
It's like a selective knowledge bomb.
Yeah.
Maybe if you use the other eye, you get the full knowledge.
well, it
That's
was only
probably
one of
it.
the eyes.
Yeah.
And I love this idea that the Watcher, because he never really wrote anything down, he doesn't have like a camera or anything.
Right.
But the idea was that the Watcher's eyes record everything that they see, and because he sees all in our sector of the universe, his eyes have recorded everything. They're almost like organic data storages.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that. I just thought that was cool.
Or since the eyes are the window to the soul, perhaps they are like a gateway,
Like a soul
into
conduit.
his soul, like a memory.
Yeah, but his soul would
It's more
then
mystical than I would have
be the
given you
hard
credit
drive,
for.
and his
Yeah.
Yeah.
eyes would just be the camera.
Maybe his soul is like the power source.
Yeah,
And the eyes are
probably
like
it.
the data drive.
Well, I mean, if he's not dead yet, then his soul is still active, so that would make sense as to why you can access everything.
Fair enough. So, alright.
Is he dead?
If he has a
The Watcher?
soul,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is, okay.
what happens when a Watcher
Dead until they
dies?
don't
Does
want
his soul, like... Is there a Watcher heaven?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably
So,
not. He's
Probably not.
just-
Fury is involved in the investigation of the Watcher's death, and and he winds up calling up a select group of characters who were not involved in the original Sin bomb situation.
Okay.
Those characters being people like Black Panther, Doctor Strange, the Punisher, the Winter Soldier, aka Bucky Barnes, Captain America's former sidekick. Fury's like, there's more to this story than meets the eye. I need you guys to investigate some of this shit that's going on.
Did the knowledge bomb affect people all over the world? Like,
No, it only affected that radius.
Area? Okay.
It actually shows a couple of people who were like regulars who were like, "Oh, my wife slept with somebody." Ooh, like it's just kind of weird. But I guess to show you that it didn't just affect
superheroes.
Right.
Does that imply that the Watcher sees
everything?
Everything.
He sees all of us. He sees He sees people who.
But why does he actually show up sometimes at important events? Like to see it more?
Yeah, see it to get a front row seat.
But he sees everything. How
Right.
do you get a front row seat when you already see everything?
Well, I don't know.
Well, you're really far away.
Maybe he wants to be involved, or maybe more likely he wants
to be
people
there.
to see him, so
Yeah.
they know.
So they know.
Look, he's watching all the time. No one watches him. He's like, I gotta be part of this shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
I'm
like
not gonna get recorded.
it's not like when Black Widow's in the shower, he like shows up because he wants to see it more. He'll just watch it from home.
Right.
In fact, it's more convenient to do that.
Right.
But
when
anyway,
there's when major characters are going to die, then he's like, "Oh, I'm part of this."
well, there's a moment, and
I'm in here.
I'll hopefully get to that point.
you know someone's going to die.
Yeah, you know there's some shit happening. This motley crew of super characters who you never see in a room together before pair off, and they go on this weird investigation where they start like finding really random shit. Like a couple of characters go like under the Earth's core to like where the Moloids live, and they find like a big monster graveyard. All these big, neat like monsters and creatures are like just dead in this big cave, and they've all been killed by what appear to be bullets, just regular bullets. And they in fact find a couple of them, and some of them seem to be regular bullets, but they're also gamma irradiated. So they're like, oh, maybe Banner's involved. He's not, by the way. It turns out that it's actually just they're gamma irradiated because gamma's some heavy shit and it'll really fuck up a thing, even if it's like a big monster.
Right.
The characters go from like the lowest depths of the Earth to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, and they all find the same MO. Even in the astral plane, Doctor Strange and Punisher, which is one of my favorite team-ups, find a bunch of dead cosmic, like, mystical beings. And so it turns out that this assassin has been everywhere.
Okay.
It's really neat, and it's this really weird mystery. It's another mystery. So, and they're thinking maybe this is the guy who killed the Watcher, because it's the same, method. It's the same entry wound.
Right.
So they go off. Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, and Gamora go into like the galaxy, and they found that like someone has assassinated a living planet. There's a character called Ego, the Living Planet. The idea is that there's a race of beings out in space that are fucking planets.
I used to have a Marvel card of Ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's another guy who doesn't have a name because whoever the fuck shot the shit out of him. And it's like, it's just bullet holes like in the ground, and they're like, what the crap? And then like they took a picture from space, and they're like, and it's just this big planet head like, oh shit. And they're like, that's cool. I mean, fucked up. And then Winter Soldier blows up the spaceship that Moon Knight, Gamora, and he came in, used a teleporting machine he has, and then pieces out. I'm like, oh shit, maybe it was Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier shows up at Nick Fury's house, and then cuts off his head and takes the other eyeball that the Watcher was missing. So it looks like
Nick Fury?
Nick Fury. So holy shit!
Oh shit! How did he know?
Because he notices like this is all done by some like assassin, and like
He just puts
and
the pieces together.
he puts the pieces because he's also like, wait, we're being put on a wild goose chase by Nick Fury.
Now, why does he not want the others to come along with him?
He claims he's actually trying to spare them what's going to happen because he knows when he goes and fights Nick Fury, it's going to be tough.
Right.
Now, it wasn't tough, he just cuts his head off, but it turns out that it was actually a
wasn't
really
the real-
impressive life model decoy.
Right.
And he goes to a cloaked... I say cloaked because no one knows it exists, but they would because it's a space station. A fucking big-ass space station in Earth's orbit. Bucky goes there, and everybody else who was part of that motley crew, who's all been like investigating, they all put the pieces together too, and they wind up at the same place. They all wind up at the same end of the trail, which is Nick Fury's secret lair. in this space station.
In the space station.
And they run into a dozen other Nick Fury life model decoys and a really, really old Nick Fury. Nick Fury is, and you know it's him because he's aging. The idea was that Nick Fury used to take this Infinity Formula, he used it all up. He's out of Infinity Formula. And so now he's aging.
Oh, wow. And all the Nick Furies you've seen have just been life model
Have been life model decoys, and
for a while.
Nick Fury has been aging for a while. Fury's like, hey guys, so here's the deal. In the 60s, when I was a hotshot super spy for S.H.I.E.L.D., I wound up in this random firefight with these space aliens. And they looked like 1960s, like lizard men. And there's this cool dude in like a spy suit, like not a spy suit, like a superhero suit, like a fucking James Bond suit. Mm-hmm. And he is dying. He got killed by one of these stupid, like, 1960s space aliens. And he's like, I can't believe I got killed by these stupid space aliens. And Fury's like, what's going on, man? And he's like, listen, I'm part of a bigger fucking story here. And now you are in charge. I'm dead. And you're the only one who knows about this, so now you're in charge. And the idea was, all the shit that's happened in Marvel, the Secret Invasion, House of M, all this crazy shit, Galactus attacking, Thanos, all that, has all been the least crazy shit that has happened to threaten the Earth. There's even bigger, greater shit. This is the shit that gets through. Mm-hmm. There's actually bigger, greater, crazier shit that's been going on. Bigger than Galactus. And Nick Fury has been quietly and systematically assassinating these threats to Earth across the galaxy and into the astral plane and under the Earth. He's been, as they call it, the man on the wall, the first, last, and only line of defense against threats to Earth. He's like the Men in Black. But only instead of giving them, there's only one of them, and instead of giving them like green cards, he kills them. So
wow.
So
that's the man on the wall that I keep hearing about.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
It is really badass. And he's like, and now I'm gonna die, and you all are people that I've been grooming to take my place. You're all horrible people with no problem killing in the name of the Earth.
Right.
And Gamora, who was like tricked to going, she's like, nah. She leaves. But like, and then you're watching, you're like, man, who's it gonna be? Like Moon Knight or fucking the Punisher? That would be a great use of the Punisher character.
Yeah.
So like, who's gonna be the man on the wall? And
now that team up makes more sense. I was trying to understand, like, why did he put these people together?
Yeah.
And why did he
put them on this weird quest? Yeah. He wanted them
the one who has the Watcher's Eye the whole time.
Right. But the problem that he's had also is he still is in possession of the Watcher's eyeball.
Right.
After Winter Soldier brings it to his lair, he like grabs it, and he can't unlock it. Now,
wait, he can't even do what friggin' Orb
did? Yeah, but Orb has been like destined to be able to do it. We still don't know
because
quite
he's
why.
a single eyeball. He needs another eyeball.
Because he's an eyeball man.
He has an eyeball thing.
It's it's an eyeball thing.
Connection.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
So it's dumb.
It's that.
Your eyes are tiny. You couldn't possibly understand.
Actually, there might be a reason for it, and we'll tell you why in a second. So the Avengers then show up, who don't know anything about this, and they're like, "We know that Nick Fury is involved somehow," and then Fury sends his life model decoys to fight the Avengers. And but old Nick Fury like suits up in his crazy like space battle suit, and like and Cap is like, you know, you're my oldest friend, and like, why is this happening? Like, what have you done? And he's like, I can't tell you, Cap. You're too good a man, and
right.
you try to get involved, and I can't let that happen.
Scout.
Exactly, I can't let you. So, but I will fight you guys, and like. Cap's like, I don't have time for this shit. I've been betrayed by Tony Stark too many times. The Illuminati's bullshit. Thor, kill him. I'm sick of this shit. So Thor goes like, all right. So Thor like grabs Fury, starts wailing on the suit, and he's making cracks. And then Nick Fury whispers something in his ear, and Mjolnir drops to the surface of the moon, and Thor can't lift it.
I saw that in one of the panels, and I was like, the fuck?
Yeah, and we don't know what Nick Fury says, but he goes like, Thor, I want you to remember that it wasn't like a god who took you down, it was a whisper. And then he says to Stark an algorithm that makes Stark's suit go back to Earth. Stark's like, oh! He just zips back to Earth. And we get back to the task at hand. Who killed the fucking Watcher?
Right.
And we find out, like, when Nick Fury started to die, when he started to get old, there's a moment where, like, he wakes up out of bed, and he, like, starts coughing up blood, and then the Watcher appears. Because he's like, this is it. And Fury's like, oh, fuck you, Watcher. Like, no, I'm not gonna die at your feet. And he, like, forces himself not to die. And, like, then later on...
That's how dying works.
Yeah, you just don't let yourself die.
You just stop.
Well, if you're as stubborn an asshole as Nick Fury is, you figure out a way to just just choke it down.
Hang on, I'm gonna keep my guts inside for a little longer.
So, Fury is responding on his man on the wall assignment to the distress commotion that took place in the Watcher's watchtower.
Right.
So he gets there, and the Watcher has been attacked, beaten brutally, and his left eyeball's missing. And he's like, Watcher, listen, like, tell me who did it, and I'll go and I'll punish them.
Yeah.
And Watcher gives him a look like, I don't want your fucking help. And then he shows Nick Fury, like, I know all your secrets. I know you've been going off in the universe and murdering people in the name of one, like, people. And that, like, you're a terrible... I don't want your fucking help. And Fury's like, don't throw that shit in my face. Like, all you do is watch while I act. Like, that's what I do. Like, you're a hypocrite.
Oh, man.
And then, the Watcher...
Why? The Watcher isn't the one that ever said that he would protect
Well, no, because the Watcher does selectively help. Sometimes the Watcher does break his vow of inaction. Like, when Galactus came, and Watcher was like...
He told him how to
beat Galactus, because Watcher's mentality was like, if Galactus succeeds, then I will have nothing left to watch.
Right.
And then my charge will be destroyed.
So he's just a creepy voyeur.
Yeah.
Look, if you take away my toys, I won't have anything to play with.
Exactly. Nick Fury is taking out these threats that, like you said, are more grave than even Galactus.
It's true.
So why wasn't the Watcher getting involved in those?
Could be because Watcher, like, has been seeing Nick Fury do it, and he's like, well, Fury's already preventing all this shit from happening.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
I know! It's why Nick Fury has such a fucking problem with the Watcher. So,
it's like, oh, you didn't have to get involved because I stopped it.
Yeah. So...
But you would have if I had. Fuck you.
Yeah, no. So, there's this sad moment where the Watcher, he's, like, dying at the feet of Nick Fury, and he's like...
Well, because he lost an eye?
Well, he got, like, blasted. He's just really hurt. He's mortally wounded.
Which is interesting, because the first time you see the orb shoot the Watcher with something, you think he shot him in the head.
Yeah, you think he killed him. But he didn't. He just blasted him. It's like more of a concussive blast.
Which is really dumb, because he does have that hole and blood coming out.
Yes. Well,
yeah.
So,
maybe that was, like, the orb's impression of what he did. Like, he thought he killed
we'll see what happens. Yeah. So, the Watcher is looking at Nick Fury, and he just goes, I'm so tired. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, that's what he tells Nick Fury. Instead of telling him where the murderer is and everything like that, he's like, I just can't do this anymore. And then he starts to, like, conjure up some energy to attack Nick Fury. And Fury's like, oh, whoa, like, don't start, or I will defend myself. And Watcher knows this, so he starts charging up more, like he's going to attack him. So then Fury assassinates the Watcher. Fury is the one who shoots him in the, like, between the eyes.
Oh, wow.
So the Watcher just wanted to commit suicide?
The Watcher...
Death by Nick Fury.
Yeah.
It's like Death by Cop. But
well, it's like...
Death by Spy.
Yeah. The Watcher
you want to die,
incepted
so you
the
run
orb.
at the cops.
Yeah.
That's what
the Watcher incepted the orb and convinced the orb to get Dr. Midas to come up to the place and then break in and then create the situation that only Nick Fury would respond to and only Nick Fury could and would kill the Watcher.
It's a pretty intricate plan.
It is. And the Watcher has enough experience and knowledge to really make that shit happen.
Why doesn't that happen to all the Watchers though? Like, their job is to watch.
Yes, but only the Watcher watches our shit. Our shit
is that our shit is so disturbed that the Watcher was driven to suicide.
Or it's so boring and mundane, just like, I can't... Oh, you people are so dumb.
No way, because he's the one who wants front row seats to our shit.
Yeah, he keeps showing up.
I'm willing to bet the other Watchers to get much better stuff.
Well, actually, when all this shit starts to come to fruition...
He's seen too much.
Yes.
That's what the line is. I've seen too much.
Look, you guys have the internet, and the things you do on that thing, man.
Exactly.
Watching you watch is horrifying.
I'm done with that shit.
But he says it's time for someone else to watch.
How is that not a thing that the other Watchers would step in? Is it only our Watcher that's like,
maybe
guys,
they get it.
I gotta step in.
So, like,
sometimes
he wants to die.
Sometimes Uatu is like an outcast because he has gotten involved. Like, sometimes the Watcher Order doesn't even like want to deal with him, or doesn't even let him get involved in their shit anymore.
So it's kind of like the hooligan that's just like, look, I know we're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to do it. And they're like, why did we make him a Watcher?
Yeah, like this is all part of the whole rich tapestry.
Even a Watcher dying is
part of this whole thing. Like, it's part of the whole. Like, our job is to chronicle the universe.
Actually, aren't they concerned with what happens to everything that he watched? Shouldn't they want to get the eyeballs so they can, like, take them back to their eyeball library or whatever? No, this is all part of the story. This is all part of the story that, like, they have to watch. Yeah, but if they watch and then they just die and all that information is lost, then what's the point?
Well,
they're not going to question that. They're just going to watch it happen.
They also know that the information is not lost. Oh. So here's the thing.
I jumped the gun.
The eyeballs. Fury's got one. Old Fury's got one.
Yeah.
And Orb's got one.
Right.
And Orb starts to have this weird connection with the eye, where the eye's talking to him and making him fucking freak out. And he's like, "Yes." I'm going to get all this information, and then who knows what I'll do, because who gives a shit, because I'm the Orb. And then, the fucking nerve endings and shit, wrap around his neck and start killing him. And then it burrows into his chest.
Oh.
And at the end of the book, we watch this story where, there's this chick, and she's trying to kill her husband, and she's tied him to a chair, and she gouged out his eyes because he did some crazy shit. And she's like, "Don't try to stop me!" And the Orb is there. And he's got his fucking Watcher eyeball in his chest. And he goes, "I'm not going to stop you. I just want to watch." And that's his status quo now.
The Orb is the Watcher?
No. The Orb is a creepy voyeur.
I thought that the Orb had been made into the Watcher.
No.
The Orb is amazing.
No, the Orb
just watches the most horrific shit.
No, because the Orb knocked on the door and opened it. If he was the Watcher, he'd be the most ineffectual one. Hey,
can I watch you?
I'm here to watch. Get the fuck out of here, you creepy double-eyeballed freak.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, but wait, then why does the eye burrow into it? What is that?
It's like a punishment. The idea is that the eyes kind of punish the people who perverted it.
What?
Because here's why. So Fury, so...
Stay with me.
At the end, Dr. Midas, who you may remember is involved in the story, he just has all this power, but he can't contain it and control it. And, old Nick Fury is I'm going out, this is it. So he takes a fucking big sniper shot at Dr. Midas' hand, blasts his hand off.
Why at his hand?
He's just firing at him and it just blasts his hand off. The reason why that matters is because Exterminatrix, his daughter, takes the hand and she's like, "We're losing, I'm out of here." And she fucking just takes it and leaves. And he's like, "No, you bitch!"
So she can make stuff out of gold?
Yeah.
Into gold?
How does this still work if he's dead?
Well, the hand of Midas.
Isn't that how Midas' hand works?
Yeah, he could. I thought you were looking for it.
That happen? Yeah.
In the myth, yeah. Right. The idea is that you're looking for it's either his hand or it's a hand that represents. I don't know. In any case,
I always thought the myth was just his hand could turn shit into gold, but then when he died, he's fucking dead.
Oh, well,
no, I think that's
explorers are looking for the hand. I think.
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess.
I don't know.
In this, the hand.
Sure.
In this, at the end, she goes back to Earth and she's like. Because he's in charge of some fucking criminal organization, and she's like, they will rise again, and she's in the desert, and the snake comes over to bite the hand, and it turns into gold. So it implies she can use the hand to make gold.
Why doesn't she turn into gold when she picks up the hand?
Maybe she's related to him
with the hand.
No, the snake was sneaking up on her, and it brushed up against the hand, or it tried to bite it or whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. Nobody's going to use Exterminatrix or Dr. Midas at all in these stories, done. So whatever. But that's they're setting up the stage. Just nobody's going to use Double Eye Orb, nor are they going to use Exterminatrix. They're not going to use it.
Did they kill Cosmic Midas, or does he?
No, yeah.
Okay.
And then Fury shoves the eyeball into his he put Optimus Prime. He puts the cube in his chest.
Yeah, because he knows the eye has power. Yeah.
And it's overloading or some nonsense. So it blows the fuck up and kills Nick Fury, Dr. Midas, and blows up the rest of the Watcher's house.
Oh man, we just got done fixing that.
So at the end of the story,
aren't there people inside that house?
Nah, they were all outside. Well, because it was get the hell out of here. It happened further in the house. It's a big area. It's a big lair.
All right.
So,
well, you got a big dome, you gotta have a big...
The Avengers leave, the secret team disbands, and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, winds up taking over as the Man on the Wall.
Okay.
He's the guy who's you know what? Fury had it right. And I really like that because the Winter Soldier was a great idea that Brubaker had, resurrecting Bucky and making him into the Winter Soldier. It was such a good idea, they made a fucking, sequel to Captain America all based on that idea, and it was really cool. Mm-hmm. But after Bucky became Captain America, and then joined the New Avengers, and then Steve Rogers came back to life, and then became Captain America again,
you're kind of well, you have no purpose.
Bucky winds up becoming the guy who's going to do all this crazy shit. Okay. And then they show you an example of what he does. And in October, they're going to launch a new Winter Soldier series where he does all that shit that Nick Fury does.
Now that's cool.
It looks like he kills one of those lizard aliens.
Yeah, it's another
so it brings it all back to the
I think so. I think it is. I think it is bringing it all back.
It's finally time! Bam!
Blah! Ow! So,
damn it.
Then they finally wrap it up by revealing that the eye didn't kill Nick Fury. And in fact, it gave him the ability to survive on the surface of the moon, and he seems to be, like, cosmically chained to the surface of the moon, and he is now the Watcher.
So is he... What is he now? He's not a Watcher, because Watchers are a race of people. No,
he's
not one of them.
Fury is just... I think he's just being...
Punished?
Being punished by the Watcher.
Oh, okay.
Both people who assaulted and perverted the Watcher are being punished.
Yeah, but...
With the eye.
But he did what the Watcher wanted him to do. The Watcher kind of made him do it by threatening to kill him.
Right, but at the same time, Fury shouldn't have been doing the shit he was doing in the first place.
What do you mean he shouldn't have been doing it?
Well, that's the question.
The
like,
Watcher.
Morally, like, Watcher seems to think that Fury shouldn't have been doing that shit.
Right.
But if he hadn't been doing that shit, Watcher would have gotten involved anyway.
Well, that's what we say.
Right.
Maybe
we
Watcher would say, well, you don't know that those threats would have metastasized into an actual threat. You assume that they would.
Right. And that's actually, like,
every time they do something, it's averting an actual threat.
Well, how do you know?
Because... All right, so
it's an allegory for, like, drone strikes.
Is coming
like,
to
is it
eat
okay
the
to
planet?
kill people because you think that they're going to attack you?
Yeah, it's all about preemptive strikes.
Yeah.
Well, Galactus is going to come and eat the planet. He's on his way. He doesn't actually start eating the planet,
Which is why
got rid of him.
Which is why Iwatu,
showed up and
tells people how to stop Galactus, because it clearly is an imminent threat. The Watcher might argue, but the stuff Nick Fury was doing was not.
Because Fury also reveals
no way that he could
too fast.
There's no way that the Watcher couldn't know that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think the Watcher's like innocent until proven guilty in this situation, guys. Like, just because there's a race of lizard men who have been talking about the Earth being a place where we're going to eat all the inhabitants, it doesn't mean that they're going to be able to do that, and it certainly doesn't mean that you should topple their government and murder everyone involved, which is what Nick Fury does. Like, he doesn't just kill the threat. He, like, finds out about threats that might happen and then ruins them. Like, he destabilizes governments, he murders prominent figures, he destroys races, like, he does heavy shit.
But if Nick Fury's being punished for this stuff, because the Watcher thinks it's bad, obviously the writers think that it's bad. So why is Bucky taking over the role?
The Watcher thinks it's bad because the Watcher is taking. Well, yeah, the Watcher's taking a moral high ground. But he's also not, because he's a hypocrite and he's taking advantage of Nick Fury's inability to take the moral high ground.
Right.
But the idea was that
it's not clear cut either way. It's like Civil War. Like,
it's supposed to be ambiguous.
Yeah.
It's why Fury called that motley crew of people, because they're all in some form morally ambiguous characters or have done morally ambiguous things. So they might agree with him. Like, but there's other characters that don't. Like, Punisher doesn't give a shit. He only cares about crime.
Right.
Gamora doesn't give a shit. She doesn't give a shit about humanity.
Right.
Emma Frost only cares about mutants. So there are characters here who Fury's like, they could do it, but will they? And will they argue with me? Doctor Strange is part of the Illuminati, has murdered entire alternate versions of humanity, but even he is like, this is wrong. Like, he doesn't agree with what Fury's doing. And Fury's like, Strange, you're doing what I'm doing all the time.
Right.
But Strange doesn't see that way. So it's like, only really Bucky is the one who is morally ambiguous enough, like Fury, to agree with Fury and his reason for doing things. And in fact, Bucky's been doing that anyway, but for the Russians.
Right. Interesting.
You can get Black Widow to do that shit.
How come Black Widow doesn't?
Fury says to Cap, he goes, Natasha's gonna wonder why I didn't call her. Like, my secret's gonna come out. She's gonna wonder why I didn't call her. And he's like, because lately she's been acting more like you, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Interesting.
She's a good person.
She's better.
Like, she's better than this. So, Original Sin is a neat idea. What'd you guys think? Overall, would you read it?
I think it's cool. Yeah,
I like the twists in it, and I like what's going on.
I really like the sort of critique and questioning of the preemptive strike concept.
Yeah.
I think that's very timely and interesting. It's kind of like, I would think of it as like, what if when someone went in a chat room and said, I'm going to blow up this mall somewhere, if we just fucking killed that person?
Right. If one day he just disappeared.
Yeah.
We don't even know.
Right.
There's just a group that takes care of that threat.
Like, would that be okay?
Yeah.
I would say no. You arrest the person.
Right.
But Nick Fury's like, I can't arrest them. But he's making up really it's just easier for him to kill them.
Yes.
Than to deal with the problem.
They actually show Fury kind of like slipping a little bit, like where he had kind of some standards, but then eventually just was like this grizzled old murderer.
Right, just like, well, they're a threat.
Because there's a moment where he's like, he's got his gamma radiated sniper scope, and he's on a skyscraper, and he's communicating with like whatever organization exists that brought Nick Fury in the first place. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, I got my target in sights. And he's like, you know what? I'm gonna let this one go. I want to see what happens with this guy. And it's Spider-Man, like when he first showed up.
What? He was gonna kill Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's like, there's this guy who is involved in this old man's murder, and now he just swings around. He was on TV, and now he just swings around and, like, has all this obscene power, and we have no idea who he is. He wears this mask.
So they're clearly implying that Nick Fury was wrong. Because he almost killed Spider-Man. So, if he almost killed Spider-Man, he probably did kill a whole bunch of people.
No, but Fury chose not to. It shows that Nick Fury has
He said, I'm going to let this one go.
But
like, he killed a whole bunch of other people.
Well, he killed... We don't know how... We just know that there are a lot of bodies. We don't know how many bodies he spared. But I think the idea was that over time, he just stopped discerning.
Which means there's probably some people that were really good.
And I think that's the Watcher's thing. Yeah. I think the Watcher is saying, by his condemnation of Nick Fury, because you took it into your own hands. Right. You have no idea the forces at work. It's why I do what I do. It's why I watch and I don't act. It's because, like, maybe the
Except when I do.
Except when I do, and I know...
But Galactus was really about to eat the planet.
Yeah.
Like, for real. He was, like, right there.
He was right there.
Put a bib on and everything.
It's like the Watcher's like, you assassinated an entire race of beings, and if you had let them, it's like the Prime fucking directive. Right. Like, if you had let them come, they would have launched a satellite that would have prevented such and such from happening. It's all, like, interconnected.
But that's the thing. How could Nick have possibly known that?
Oh, he doesn't. But it's like, Nick
you gotta
Fury,
give it a chance.
It's more like Fury shouldn't have taken it upon himself to be that. It's like more like you said that, like, some guy told you that he's necessary, and you justified it to yourself.
Right.
That doesn't mean that, like, there's no cosmic need for Nick Fury to kill people. It's
you're just a lunatic.
You're just an asshole with a crazy amount of weaponry.
Well,
and
this just proves the fact that the man on the wall is a bad thing.
Yeah.
The fact that there's like someone who is just saying, like, oh, well, that's a threat. All right, let's get rid of it. Yeah. Like, if it's a threat, like an actual threat, yes, you can deal with it.
Right.
But it looks like he's looking at things and being like, oh, that could be a threat. Let's take care of it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the man on the wall.
That's not how I took the man on the wall to be at first. I thought it was like, no, here's a ship that is literally about to blow up the Earth in 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
While we're taking care of something else, the man on the wall is going to get rid of the ship.
Yeah, no. I think the idea of the man on the wall here is, like, you can't even know he's there. Like, because otherwise the superheroes wouldn't fight to the last man. They wouldn't let their own die. They'd be like, get the man on the wall, quick!
I figured it would still be something hidden, like the entire team is battling Thanos and the existence and shit like that. And while all that's happening,
there's another invasion.
Bigger, like, it's about to happen, the man on the wall's like, well, they're all taking care of that.
Yeah. Fury is providing a service, and he's justified it himself a couple times.
To me, it seems like what he's really doing is, like, one man can't actually stop Galactus.
Right.
By shooting someone. Like, that wouldn't have done anything. So what he's doing is stopping problems while they're still stoppable by one man.
Right.
Which is like, yeah, but then you don't actually know if it would have been a real problem.
Right.
Like with Spider-Man.
And
like, well, this is my chance to kill him before he, like, really becomes an issue, so I'll do it.
That's right.
That's like
extremely,
That's like taking an incredibly intelligent child in a school and being like, all right, you're really smart, you're charismatic, you can go really far in this world. Blam!
Right, because you
couldn't take the risk, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you could have been Hitler or
a great president, who knows?
But it's not.
Or an actor.
We prefer mediocrity to, you know, the hazards of
that certainly sounds like the
don't reach too far, you're gonna live.
Here's another question, another morally ambiguous question. Suppose that Nick Fury did kill a few people who would have been good people, but he also stopped some threat that would have obliterated the whole world.
Yes.
And if he hadn't done it, you wouldn't have been able to stop it.
Yeah.
Would that make it justifiable?
I think that, like,
I think that's how he would justify it.
If you're
say,
on
like, yes, I made some mistakes, but I also
that's how he justifies it. Oh, he says that. He doesn't say I've made some mistakes, but he says I've done some regrettable things.
AKA made mistakes.
I've killed children. Like.
Yeah.
Here's the.
But I think they were going to be bad.
Here's the unanswerable question.
I've stopped the world from blowing up, so it all evens out.
Right.
I think the only way Nick Fury could ever be the man on the wall is if he was a time traveler.
He's not.
You mean a morally
justifiable
man on the wall?
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, perhaps he's correct that he did manage to thwart some threats that no one else could have stopped.
Yeah.
And maybe that would make it all justifiable. If he saved billions of lives and only had to kill,
thousands,
a couple thousand, people who might have been okay, but most probably weren't.
And some of them were women and children and puppies.
Right. Well, look at the justice system. You know, there have been people who have been wrongfully convicted
and executed, or at least
But that doesn't mean you don't have a justice. It doesn't mean you get rid of the justice system.
No, it's true.
No system's perfect.
Right.
So he would say. I think he would argue that about himself.
I think he would argue that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you kill Thanos because he got rid of half the universe?
Yes.
Yeah. But do you kill Thanos before he has a chance to do it?
Well, here's another question.
Do you think he might?
If you kill Thanos, do you take the Infinity Gauntlet and undo what he did? Or is the universe now set in that way?
Oh, you undo it.
Okay.
Really?
You take the power of a god,
snapping the finger to obliterate half the universe.
That's unnatural.
That should not have happened. You can fix that.
What do you mean it's unnatural? Those things existed before the universe existed. That's incredibly natural.
Men were not meant to wield them. Clearly,
it's true. At least not Mad Titans.
Unless
certainly
that's
not
how
all
it
of them at
was
the same
supposed
time.
to be.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I think the Watcher would say that's how it was supposed to be.
Yeah, well, this Watcher wouldn't, but probably the rest of them would. Because this Watcher stopped Galactus, which is way less of a big deal than wiping out half the universe.
Yeah, that's just one planet.
Yeah.
He's never going to take out half the universe.
Yeah. Where was the Watcher when Thanos wiped out half the universe? Why didn't the Watcher do something then?
He watched.
He was there.
I was there. Maybe
I don't know what he did.
Maybe it's because he knew Earth wouldn't get obliterated, so he was like, I don't care.
Fuck it.
I watch Earth. I don't care about the
people died. Like, he killed half the...
It's up to their Watchers to stop
He killed half of life on the
half
universe.
of life.
So a bunch of humans disappeared, too.
Oh, like... Oh.
Superheroes, humans...
I thought it was like...
No, this half...
No,
half of everyone.
Half of life in the universe.
Okay.
So
just random...
One of us, or two of us would be
dead.
dead.
Half of us would be gone.
Yeah.
Which means two of us.
Because there's only half a corpse.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a bigger issue. Let us know in the comments down below. Is Nick Fury justified in what he does? Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. And as always, click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I am Sal.
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Ben.
You just watched Back Issue. See you next time.